Wednesday of Holy Week. It doesn't have a fancy name like Palm Sunday or Good Friday. If anything, it might most commonly be referred to as Spy Wednesday. Why? Because it's the day that Judas betrayed Jesus. The scene goes something like this. They are in the upper room and Mary Magdalene is cleansing Jesus' feet with her hair and this expensive perfume. And it makes the disciples pretty indignant, especially Judas. And they say, hey, this expensive perfume could have been sold and the money given to the poor. But let's be honest, Judas would have had no intention of giving that money to the poor. He had selfish motives, selfish gain, selfish interest in mind, to the extent that he was planning on betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, the cost of a slave. He sets up this plan with the chief priests, and the key symbol in the whole plan is that to let them know it's Jesus in the garden is a kiss on the cheek. It might as well have been a slap to the face. But when you compare Judas's actions and behavior to Jesus's, even days before the cross, they look drastically different. You see, in the upper room, just days earlier, Jesus is washing his disciples' feet as this act of service, as this act of love, challenging them to go and do likewise. And can we just pause there for a minute and recognize that Judas is in the room? Judas is around the table. Jesus washes Judas's feet, knowing what's about to happen. And even on the cross, Jesus has this conversation with the thief next to him, and the thief asks him to remember him. And Jesus extends essentially this arm of eternity and says, today you will be with me in paradise. Even Jesus' final moments, he's thinking of others. He's considering others. Much like that Philippians 2 passage that says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others greater than yourself. Each of you should look not only to your own interest, but also to the interest of others. And then it goes into this beautiful Christ-centered, gospel-centered passage that says, have the same like mind as Christ, who left his throne room in heaven and came down to earth, lived his life as a servant, and gave his life to death on a cross, a gruesome death. In this moment of Holy Week, this particular Wednesday, may we continue to reflect and confess on the things that we need to be challenged by. Today, I encourage you and challenge you to reflect maybe on our own selfish motives and selfish desires and selfish interests, much like Judas. For Judas, it was money. But what is it for you? Maybe it is money for you. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's the amount of time we spend on TV and Netflix and YouTube and those kinds of things. Maybe it's sports and hobbies or your kids, right? Like sometimes it is. I just ask and challenge us to reflect well, but not only reflect, but to also repent. To ask God to change our mind, to change our thinking, to change our hearts and the way that we are living, to reflect on Him well, to keep Him in His rightful spot above everything else. And if you do have those things that you are placing before Him, that you would just confess them, repent of them, and take this time during Holy Week, particularly this Wednesday, to reflect and reflect well.